Hey guys, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about a story out of Matthew 14, which is the story of Peter walking on water with Jesus. Just a little bit of where I am. So, the disciples are all on the boat in the middle of the water, and they see this person, thing in a distance walking on the water, and they're terrified. They don't really know what it is, they think it's a ghost. And I'm going to pick up in verse 27. It says, But Jesus immediately said to them, Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Come, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, crying out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. Ye of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? As I was reading this, God was revealing some stuff to me, and I think the first part of the story represents where a lot of Christians are at today. Um, it's where they're in. The disciples were fishermen, right? So they're used to being in a boat. They're used to being out on the water. It's comfortable to them. It's safe. Like they're there all the time. It's kind of like home. They feel safe there. Um, and the problem is that there is water surrounding their boat. Like they are safe, they feel safe here, but there is water all out around them. And that's kind of like us in our lives. We have this little homey space that we feel safe in. It's our comfort zone. Like this is what we want to do. This is what we feel comfortable doing. So this is where we're going to stay. But the problem is there's a whole bunch of people that need to be reached outside of that area, surrounding us, surrounding all of us, our friends, our home, our work, our school, or whatever it is that need to be reached. But we're in our little boat, safe, and we don't want to get out. But just like it said here, Peter called out to God and said, If that's you, tell me to come onto the water. We need to be doing that as Christians. We're in our safe spot, but if we see an opportunity outside of that, we need to be praying to God and asking Him for the courage to go out of that boat and go on that water. And then Jesus said to him, Come. So Jesus is calling us to reach those people. We already know that that is our calling as Christians, is to go reach other people and make disciples for God. So God tells us to come and get off that boat, but it's so scary because we're sitting there thinking about the what ifs. What if we step out of that boat and we sink? What if we don't get to walk on that water like God did? What if we can't do it? And we end up staying in that little boat and nothing happens. We don't get to see a miracle of God because we're too scared to get out of the boat. We don't trust Him. Um, but then it says, Peter got out of the boat and walked on water, coming towards Jesus. Guys, that's what we need to do as Christians, to be able to reach other people and to do what God is calling us to do and to be able to please God. We need to get out of that boat and take that step onto the water. Yes, it may be scary, but God is faithful and He will help you through that as long as you are walking towards Him. That's what Peter was doing. The only reason that he got off that boat was to walk towards God. The only reason that he got off that boat is because God was calling him to come towards Him. So every time that we're taking a step, we're not doing it alone. We're getting closer to God as we go. So we need to be willing to get off that boat and take that step. And just like Peter did, we will be able to see miracles happen for God. When he got off and he took those steps, he got to walk on water. And that is amazing. And that's what happens when we step out. We get to see miracles. We get to see God work. We get closer to God. But yes, just like Peter did, sometimes we are going to fail. It says, when Peter saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. So Peter walked out on the water. He was getting closer to God. He was following God, but then he failed and he started to sink. But then what did he do? He cried out to God, Lord, save me. Guys, if we are going towards God and we start to fail and we cry out to Him, He will do exactly what He did for Peter in this passage right here. And it says, immediately Jesus reached out His hand and caught him. We don't need to be afraid to step out on those waters and go towards Christ, because when we do, even if we fail, Jesus is going to be there to pick us back up and push him on and keep him going. Because what he did, he reached down and pulled Peter out of the water. And I'm sure that after that moment, Peter was stronger in his faith than he ever was beforehand, because he was following God and he was getting closer to God. That is what we need to do. We cannot be content in this little boat that we have, in this little comfort zone that we have, but we need to be willing to step out of that and go into the waters, into the unknown, into the scary part of the earth that we're not used to, and share God and get closer to God, no matter whatever He is calling us to do, whether it's to into any type of mission field, or to help in your church, or to go talk to that friend that He's been calling you to talk to. But whatever it is, we need to step out of that, knowing that even if we do fail, as long as we are trying to do what God has called us to do, it is going to be okay, and our relationship with God will get better. So that's just my encouragement to you guys today. And what God showed me through my last Bible study is really just, no matter what God is calling us to do, it's safer to be out in that storm with Jesus than it is to be inside of that boat. Because in the end, that's the only thing that's going to matter, is if we were willing to get out of that boat, if we were willing to pursue Jesus, because that's what He is calling us to do as Christians. So this is just an encouragement to not be afraid, to take courage, as He told them here. It says, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." And He will protect you through that, and He will bless you through that. So I hope you guys have a great day.